to another video. You'll remember me telling you that I chose a FIMI X8 SE 2020 over a Zino 2. The reason I did that was because most of the reviews I saw had the FIMI X8 SE's build quality, and what I thought the video quality looked a bit better on the FIMI as well. Anyway, I thought to myself, that's all based on me watching reviews, looking at web pages about it. I thought, why not order a Zino 2 Plus and give it a go myself? Why not check out whether the quality is actually any better or any worse or what have you. So I'm basically going to be unboxing a Zino 2 Plus, which I have managed to acquire, and I've opened up the box, but I haven't actually opened the inner box, so I thought you don't want to see me basically cutting through a box. No one likes watching that, so I thought I'd pre-cut it. And as straight away, it's actually harder than it looks to get the thing out. Hang on a minute. I don't want to damage it too much because I have to return it. There we go. Yeah, I think it's coming now. Is it? Yes. So you can see, literally, this is the first time I've actually unboxed this, because although I cut it open earlier, here are the scissors to prove it. I'll keep them there because you never know. But yeah, basically, this is the first time that so here's the box, this is what the box looked like. I basically got it's basically the equivalent of a DJI Flymore combo. So I've got basically 2 batteries with this and a case, hopefully. So we will see if we actually get what we paid for. So let's open it. It's quite a nice box, I'd say, so far. It may even be a bit more premium than the FIMI box that we did do an unboxing, I think, of the FIMI actually as well. So probably put a link to that below for you. So basically, so far, nice-ish box quality. Comes with a nice bag. Apparently the bag is supposed to be quite good. It certainly looks better than the FIMI's bag. The FIMI's bag was, kind of, it's very functional and it's brilliant. I like it, but it's very sort of budget. This feels much more like a DJI quality bag, I'd say. In fact, that is a really nice case. Wouldn't you say? That's brilliant, that is actually. Really nice. So let's just have a look. Move that out of the way. I don't think there's anything else in there. Might be. No, I think basically that's all that is in there, is the case itself, which is similar to the FIMI. When I opened up the FIMI, I think it came in its case. So yes, it's quite a solid feeling sort of case really. And inside, of course, you've got the drone all kind of packaged up. You've got a user manual, some foam, which I think is just to rest the Hubsan on top of. You've got the remote control. Now, that was another thing. I wasn't sure about the quality of the remote control. Another thing I saw was like the FIMI one was very useful. It was kind of expanded out. You could fit like a small tablet in there, like larger phones. And I was always told that these were kind of more toy-like. So basically, it feels a lot more hefty than I thought it would be. I thought it would be more toy-like than this. It's actually quite, it's actually quite solid, I'd say. It's not as toy-like as I thought, and everything looked quite plastically in videos I saw. So yeah, it shows you that you can be deceived really as to what the true quality is like. But anyway, let's have a look through the bag and let's see if we can get some more. Basically, we've got a charger. So basically, that's to charge the batteries up. It comes with USB. Micro USB cable, so that's quite sort of old school really. You'd expect USB-C now, but does it matter? Probably not. You get a spare set of props. I would imagine it's a full set for both different sets because usually there's like an A and a B, or there's different kinds of rotors. So basically you'll have that ability to change for both. You've got the cables for a smartphone. So basically you've got like USB-C, you've got Lightning for iPhones, and you've got micro USB as well. So basically the full set there for the controller. That's how you connect your phone into the controller. I've got I've got two chargers. So these connect into the batteries. I'll just show you that if I can get to it. So basically there's one of the batteries, and then the idea is that you would basically connect these two. Just want to make sure I get this the right way around. Probably that way. Don't know actually, maybe it's that way. Yeah, you want to get it the right way around basically. It's the first time I'm trying this, so yeah. So it goes in like that, and the idea is if you were charging two batteries. Now I don't see the other battery in here, but I'm expecting that must be in the actual drone. Yes it is, yeah. So basically what you would do is you would there's an in and an out. So your power would go in here. So this is where you would connect your AC adapter. That would go in there. And then this would go in here. And then that would connect to the next charger. Like so. That would go on the in. And then the whole idea is you connect your other battery onto that, and then you can daisy chain them and basically charge two batteries at once. It's quite a nice little way of doing it, I would say. It looks quite sort of neat, and yeah, quite a clever little idea. I don't know if you can see that there, but it's a clever little idea there. So you get a battery. Now the batteries in the Zino 2 Plus are 3800 milliamp batteries, 15.2 volts, 57.76 watt hours. Now, in comparison to, so these are LiPo batteries, comparison to the FEMI, so this is the thing, when I was checking out the specs between the Zino 2 and the Zino 2 Plus, because there hasn't been a lot of change, I think there's like slightly upgraded battery, but basically the reason, I was basically checking out the FEMI stats, and the specs of the FEMI, your FEMI battery is 4500 milliamp battery, so it's higher milliamp hours, but they both claim to have the same speed. So the top, well, roughly the same. The top speed of this is 44 miles an hour, 20 meters a second. The FEMI X8 SE 2020 says its top speed is 18 meters a second, which is around about 40 miles an hour. But the weight of this is around about 900 grams in weight, this drone. So if you have a look, basically it looks a lot better quality than I was expecting. You know, I was kind of led to believe by reviews that this would be so much below the FEMI quality, and I would say that it isn't. I would say that this is looks like solid plastic. It looks good to me. I would say it's at least as good as the FEMI. I haven't pulled it all apart yet, but just looking at it, it doesn't look cheap. It doesn't feel cheap to me. It looks like it's high quality components. I think the trouble with it is that often people see the controller and they think it looks like a toy controller in comparison to the FEMI one, and I think that probably what put people off. But actually, I think we will be surprised at how good. But anyway, back to the battery. Basically, they both claim the same amount of flight time, around 35 minutes. Of course, that's like, you know, if you've got no wind and there's nothing, you know, kind of, you know, you've got perfect conditions and good temperature and everything. But the reason I was sort of suspicious was because this battery has only 3800 milliamp and the FEMI battery is 4500 milliamp. So I thought, well, how can they be the same? You know, how come this one go faster with a heavier drone and basically have lower battery capacity? I think the difference is the voltage of this is a 15.2 volt. It's a LiPo battery. Now I don't know if the FEMI, I should probably look at the FEMI, but I think the FEMI must be a lithium ion battery then. But basically this is obviously kicking out more power. So although it's like less capacity, it's probably kicking out more power. And of course inside here, maybe the components are more efficient than the FEMI's components. But anyway, it's only claimed that it's 35-minute flight time, but it's certainly supposedly meant to go faster. I think reviews I watched, people said yes, it does go faster. So basically this is a heavier drone, able to go faster with sort of different battery specs. So read into that what you will, but I think that basically this must be more powerful a battery despite it being lesser milliamps. So that's interesting, but basically, so we'll start to look into it now, but I want to talk about like the camera differences as well. That's just what I've just remembered. So I've just taken this carefully apart because it's all kind of nicely stuck together here, and I don't want to damage it. But basically what we're looking at here is, so that, you know, it's nicely presented. One thing I'll say, this feels out of the box a more premium product to me than the Fimi X8. I love my Fimi X8, but I would say the case, I know that you might not necessarily get the case, because some people might go for the one battery option without the case, but I tell you what, it's a lovely case and it feels premium, and I'll tell you, you know, that is actually a really nice case. You know, it definitely looks good. So yeah, I'm more impressed with the case already. The Fimi case is very functional, so I wouldn't want to put you off. But yeah, basically I've got the propellers, you know, undone now. Now what I was going to say was that this has got a camera. It's also got a gimbal protector here, which the Fimi doesn't have. It has a foam kind of camera protector, which works. No one's complaining. It does work. But this feels more premium. You've got like a plastic, you know, you can put it on over it, and basically your camera is held in place by this. And I think that's probably a better option than what the Fimi one, although I've never had any problems. It's apparently detachable, this camera as well. If you have to take a look at that. So basically the camera is detachable, and I don't know what the purpose is of that, whether it's just to just so you can, you know, replace it if it breaks. I mean, I'm guessing that you can probably do the same with the Fimi if you take the thing apart, but maybe it's easier to maintain. Right, so I just want to get this right. I think you've got to open these up first. Usually you open up the wrong ones and then, right, so yeah, they just fold out, similar to the Fimis. They're not like the Mavic Airs where they kind of bend out. These basically, you know, fold out side to side. So yeah, it's a nice looking drone. It's massive, it's heavy, probably more comparable to say like a Mavic Pro or Mavic 2 Pro sort of weight and size. But the gimbal looks pretty good on it to me. You know, and also another criticism of the Fimi, a lot of people have said that the reason that the tilted horizon might occur is because it only has sort of one side to its gimbal, whereas this has two. So the Fimi's kind of it's got balancing issues potentially, whereas it's got two sides. You can see like it kind of joins to the camera back and you know, on the front, on the left and the right, whereas the Fimi is one connection on one side, and so that potentially could become unbalanced. Some reviewers have basically pointed to. So I think that's probably likely that's why you get the tilted horizon, and maybe you can do some calibrations. But I don't know about you, but I don't really want to be calibrating stuff constantly. And when I take my DJIs out, they just work. You know, I've never found that the camera has been you know, the horizon's always been bang on, and you know, yes, you might save a few pence or pounds or dollars kind of buying a cheaper drone, but if you're just getting issues with the camera being tilted and all sorts of things, you know, it's something to bear in mind. I mean, it depends what you're doing. If you're intending on selling stock footage with your drone camera, then maybe you want to invest in something more expensive. But if you're just taking it out, trying to get good videos to show your family, you know, maybe it's fine. You know, like I said, I love the Fimi, but I must admit this is a lot more premium feeling than I thought it would be. I was expecting something quite plasticky and quite cheap. A lot of reviews I read was like, oh, it's, you know, Hubsan kind of went for the 4K camera, and then they were kind of like, well, how much is that going to cost? Okay, if it costs that much, forget the rest of it. We'll cheap out on it. But no, I would say it's pretty good. It's got optical flow sensors underneath, which basically keep it stable, so it looks at the ground and tries to work out, so it doesn't like move side to side so much. Of course, we won't find out until we do a flight test. But yeah, I mean, it's looking pretty good. Let's try and pull the battery out of there. So basically that's how the battery goes in, just like that, clips in. So, you know, just clips in, and then it's got these sort of clips on the side that make it easy to get out. Very similar to the Fimi there, to be honest. So, you know, that's not a deal breaker, I think, between the two. But yeah, so far, looking at this, I think that the quality to me does not look that, you know, I would say it's not worse than the Fimi. Really, I would say that this feels as good as the Fimi, you know. It doesn't have the sort of metal underneath, if you like, which I think the Fimi must be using that as like a heat sink, because on the bottom of the Fimi there's like a kind of metal, and that's what kind of again made me think it was a more premium product. But maybe this has a fan inside that can control the heat better. It's certainly got vents on the top there. You can see the vent. You've got vents on the back as well, so that must be able to like kind of remove the heat. But for me, I mean, what's the business end of this camera? The business end is this. Giving it away. What's the business end of this drone? The camera. So the camera is the most important thing, really. And at the end of the day, having these two joins either side of the camera, I think that's going to prove to be better for non-tilted horizon, better balancing. I think you're going to get less vibration in the video potentially. So I think that's to me this feels a bit more premium, and it was a difficult decision when I started the channel. I made the decision to buy a Fimi X8 because just based on the things I read and the things I watched, and it's very difficult, you know. Now I'm really glad that I have decided to get one and try and compare the two. Of course, I was actually going to buy a Zino 2 rather than the Zino 2 Plus. The Zino 2 Plus is now the main model, and is starting to become generally available. You know, and that's another thing, you know, you can get the Hubsan Zino 2 Plus on Prime delivered by Amazon, but it's, although I have seen it on Amazon, the Fimi, yeah, I don't know if it's on Prime, and I wonder if that just kind of hints towards what's the better selling drone, potentially the Zino, and why is that? You know, are Hubsan a bigger company who are getting the product out there more, or is it better value? I don't know. I think the Fimi was slightly cheaper than the Hubsan when I was looking, but yeah, it's, you know, looks really good quality. You know, it's plastic, but it's a good solid sort of plastic. I mean, all these drones are plastic. It's just, you know, it's maybe the Fimi is slightly stronger plastic feeling. I don't know. I don't know. I think this is just as good. I would say it's probably not. I don't know. Maybe a little bit less solid than the Fimi plastic potentially. But, you know, without sort of, you know, kind of cutting the thing up and trying to get the grade of plastic, how much like pressure can this take, and do like a pressure test on it? We're not really going to do that, are we? So I think it is fully acceptable. I would say that this feels premium enough to me, you know, and even in comparison to things like the Mavic Air, you know, the Mavic Air was, you know, it's a strong plastic, I think, as well. So, you know, I mean, I've got a Mavic Air. You know, they're not going to make these things out of like steel, are they? Because they're not going to fly very well if they do. So it looks and feels solid enough to me, and I would say it's good. Yeah, I mean, it's got all this kind of stickers that you get on the. But yeah, let's have a look at the control. Oh, also, I wonder if the batteries come with any power. Yeah, they come with about two lights on, and I think that's because when you transport these sort of batteries, because they're lithium, they're only allowed to have a certain amount of charge, so I think that's what it is. And the controller, again, I would say it's it's kind of cheaper compared to the Fimi, but it doesn't feel rubbish. I mean, I'd say the Fimi controller is more, you know, I think the Fimi controller is probably better quality, I would say, and looks a lot better than this, and is probably more sort of like capable of fitting, because obviously that's going to fit a big phone. I think this will fit like an iPhone, you know, 12 Max, you know, kind of size. I think it will fit a big phone, but whether you'll get a little tablet in there, I don't think so. But yeah, I would say let's get the controllers out, the sticks. And the sticks, they feel to me, again, I assumed they were plastic just based on what I looked at and what I saw. And I would say they're not plastic, I would say they're like metal, but they're kind of like coloured black, so they're kind of like powder coated. And so therefore, you know, looks can be deceptive really. You know, the Fimi ones are definite metal, but these ones are metal too. It's just that they're a powder coated black colour, which then gives them the plasticky look. So, but yeah, I mean, you know, they're not. I would still say overall, I think this controller does look a bit more cheap. I would say it does fit. It does look cheaper than the Fimi one, but the Fimi one doesn't come with telemetry. So this screen on here, when everything's connected up, that will show you how many satellites you've got, where you're at. You know, there will be information on there about the drone, and you don't necessarily have to look at the information on the screen of your phone. So it looks to me quite functional, and you know, that's an additional feature. And apparently, it's a very clear screen. So. You know, we're not going to start this drone up until we take it out for a flight, but essentially, yes, the quality feels okay to me, and this is a rechargeable controller, so you don't have to put batteries in it, you just charge it using the USB, you know, micro USB connector. You know, it's metal sticks, they're a little bit, you know, kind of, I don't know, like, they're a bit sort of, sharp. You know, I don't know if you can get a good look at that, but basically I'd say that the tops of them are a bit sharp, so it doesn't hurt. It's just, I would say, you know, they're not quite as refined as the Fimi control sticks. So I would say the controller probably is a little bit cheaper than the Fimi. So you know, that's something I would bear in mind. It is a bit cheaper, but it apparently offers more telemetry. You know, the Fimi one doesn't have a display, so you know, it's another little gimmicky feature that's nice. The camera, you know, the gimbal control, which like brings the camera up and down, that's plastic on here, so you know, it's a plasticky wheel. On the Fimi, that's metal. So for me, overall, this controller is probably not as good as the Fimi one. I haven't taken it out for a flight yet, but it looks to me like it's not. It obviously has genuine antennas because I can see the wire going up into the antenna. A lot of the toy drones, they have antennas, but they're kind of more of a stand because the Wi-Fi actually goes from your phone. With this drone, the Wi-Fi goes from the control. The connection is from the controller to the drone. So that's basically how it's much better than the toy drones. The toy drones, the trouble is it's your phone signal, so you're not going to get very big range because obviously it's your Wi-Fi in your phone that has to connect to the drone's Wi-Fi, and so you know you need these decent antennas. And that's basically what makes the difference between the toy drones and the sort of like, you know, and a Fimi X8 is the same and a Mavic, you know, is the same. The controller powers the connection. So essentially you connect your phone in and then this does all the communication. And that's the same with these sort of price drones. So, right, yeah, so basically, let's talk about the camera. This drone can film 4K in 60 frames a second, whereas the Fimi and the Mini 2 can only do 30 frames a second. Now this has got a 1/2.3 inch sensor in it. Now that's the same size as the Mini 2 sensor and the Mini 1 sensor. And the FIMI sensor is a 1/2.6 inch sensor. This has got a Sony sensor in it, and so has the FIMI, but this is essentially the bigger sensor. So we should be getting better picture quality from this, because this should get more light in. I don't know if it may be the pixel, it's probably 12 megapixel, the same as the FIMI, I think. But essentially, this can do 60 frames a second. I think it's got the same, I think it's got an Ambarella H22 chip in it, which is the same as the Mavic Mini 1, and I think the Mini 2. And that's capable of 4K, and this does 4K. So it'd be very interesting when we take this out and we do like a flight to compare the video footage with a FIMI, and see what the FIMI the footage difference is. 60 frames a second is not a deal breaker. 30 frames a second is perfectly fine. It's more for if you want to slow the footage down. But this camera is also capable of doing sort of 1080p in 120 frames a second. So if you want to film slow-mo with your drone, if that's the sort of thing you do, I don't know who would. But basically this can do 1080p, 120 frames a second, whereas I think the FIMI can only do 90 frames a second. So again, the specs, all the specs on paper say that this Zino 2 or the Zino 2, I mean, I think there's not a lot between the Zino 2 Plus and the Zino 2. I think they slightly improved the range. I mean, this controller is apparently capable of 9 kilometers. And the previous one was 8 kilometers, and I think the FIMI is around about 8 kilometers as well. I've never flown that far. I've not done range tests. In the UK, you're not meant to fly without line of sight, so I haven't done that. So I think basically the range of these, will be quite far. It'll be well enough for most people's use. But yeah, basically this has got the larger sensor, and as we saw between the in the previous video when we basically looked at a Mini 2 versus a FIMI X8, I felt that the picture quality on the Mini 2 was better. Now, if this has got the same size sensor and the same processor as the Mini 2, should we be seeing similar, filming quality? Potentially. I mean, the Mini 2 can't do 60 frames a second, probably because of the heat that it would probably generate. But this is a much bigger drone. There's a lot more space inside for the components to not overheat. Probably got better cooling. So basically this might be capable of, it might look better than the Mini 2. So it'd be interesting to compare the footage there. But yeah, you've got your optical flow sensors on the bottom. You basically you haven't got any obstacle avoidance. I expect there's a kind of obstacle avoidance on the bottom, so if you put your hand underneath, maybe it will lift up, similar to the Mini 2, but you haven't got obstacle avoidance. So this, but that's one of the trade-offs. I mean, basically, to keep the cost down, compared to the Air 2, it's not going to have the same sort of level of sensors and what have you, because obviously the more sensors, the more components, the more stuff that's going on, it's gonna cost more money to produce. So I think the whole point of these drones is they get you up in the air, they get you good quality footage, what's important to you. That's probably what mostly important to most people. So so it'd be very interesting to see, and also it can do 60 frames a second, which is the same as the Mavic Air 2, which can do 60 frames a second. But the difference being that the Mavic Air 2 has a 1/2 inch sensor, so it should be much better picture quality. You should get much better light in there, probably better dynamic range. This we'll have to see when we fly it. I mean, I think it'll be good. Do you know what I mean? I think 4K, 60 frames. I mean, it's by no means a bad drone. I mean, to me, this feels very premium. Looking at this, it's very premium. You've got some ports on the side there, this is obviously where you put, so it's got kind of weatherproofing, and I think that's the difference between this and the Zino, the original Zino as well, that they didn't have this kind of weatherproofing, if you like, for the, so you've got a way of connecting, presumably that's to do kind of connection to the computer to do firmware updates and micro USB port. And then you've got a SD card slot, and that's obviously for your, you know, for your SD card for your filming. I think you probably need a relatively decent SD card, because if you're filming in 60 frames a second, the bit rate that this is apparently capable of is basically 100 megabits. So the FIMI and this are similar. I think basically both claim 100 megabit files. The more megabits the better. So the original mini one, it could film in 2.7K at sort of around, I think it was 40 megabits, was it, a second, or possibly 60. This can film in 100. I think the new Mini 2 is 100 as well. And so can the FIMI. But I would expect that the footage should be better on this. It should be, because the bigger sensor, you know, and the fact that it can do 60 frames a second. But of course, all these things are very subjective. It's down to you know, it's down to picture profiles, really. It's down to how the kind of the coders who do all the software want to kind of expose things. So, you know, I think it will, you know, you'll have settings in there to change the white balance from like cloudy and sunny and auto. So you'll probably have a lot of settings to improve and tweak the picture quality, but you know, most people are going to use it out of the box, aren't they? And I think you're just going to have, you know, every camera you get is going to have different sort of like picture quality settings. And even if you compare the specs, you know, you may prefer the look of one kind of camera to another. So you may get this and prefer the picture quality of the FIMI, but it's very subjective. Apologies. But yeah, basically, it looks and feels like a solid drone to me. Certainly better quality than what I believed it would be. So I'm looking forward to taking it out and giving it a fly and seeing, you know, how good it is, really. But yeah, basically the quality does seem very high. And it's going to be interesting to see whether I made the right decision to get FIMI X8 first, or whether I should have got the Zino in the first place. But of course I've ended up with Zino 2 Plus rather than a 2. So that is obviously you know, nice. So it's the newer model. But yeah, you know, it'd be great to take this out and give it a fly. So, you know, hopefully you found that useful, and hopefully that, you know, that advice is useful to you, whether to make a decision between the FIMI or the Zino. To me, if your worry was build quality, I wouldn't worry too much. It looks and feels, yeah, it's good build quality, I'd say. You know, we'll have to see how we get on. I mean, when I watched review videos, there was, you know, one reviewer I think had problems with cables to the camera on his Zino 2. I wonder if the cable to the camera is better on this. Like, I think there was problems with firmware updates where they wouldn't work because the camera cable wasn't working properly, and they had to be repaired. So the only thing is, I've heard more issues with repair on Hubsan drones than I have on the FIMI. So that was another thing that I took into consideration when I decided to get the FIMI X8. But I think the thing is, you know, sometimes you hear one report of something, then that can be amplified. So, you know, maybe there was a bad batch. You know, these feel pretty good. You know, one cool thing is it comes with the rotors already. You've already got like the propellers on here, because you have to kind of, you get like the kit to change them, but they're screwed on. Whereas with the FIMI, the propellers were kind of push in, clip on, I think. So, you know, this is quite, you know, this is more old school. You have to kind of do it with screwdrivers, but yeah, not deal breakers by any means. But yeah, we'll take it out, give it a fly, see how we feel about it, see if you feel, because I think straight away I'll know whether or not it's as easy to fly as the FIMI. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to taking this out for a flight, and hopefully we'll we'll get like some good footage out of it, and obviously I'll film that. But yeah, it's been nice to unbox. It feels quite premium to me. I think there are some downsides, like the controller. I think basically the controller, it's not as premium as the Fimi one, I don't think, although it has got the telemetry display, which I'm looking forward to trying out. But yeah, basically I think we're not going to know how good it is until we actually take it out for a flight. So basically we'll do another video with it on having a flight. So yeah, but hopefully you found the unboxing useful. Hopefully I've given you a good idea of the build quality, because often people they do unboxing videos, they open it up, they go, oh yeah, you get 2 batteries, you get these propellers, and yeah, you know what you're going to get with it because it says that on the website. But I just wanted to get across the build quality, how I feel about the build quality. So how do the rotors feel, the motors, sorry. How does it all feel? It feels to me, let me get that stuck on there, it feels of premium quality to me. So yes, it's plastic, but it's a solid plastic. But yeah, no, I get annoyed of unboxing videos who just kind of go, yeah, you get this, you get that, it's all what you expect. You know what's going to be in the box, you know that they've got these cables. I know I went through everything, but I just wanted to give an idea of the feel of it. That although it's plastic, it feels solid plastic to me. And it looks and feels premium. The controller, I would say, is a tiny bit of a letdown. If you could have mixed part of the Fimi's controller into this, as in, make it so it could expand, make the buttons less plasticky, make the general controller a bit less plasticky. I would say so far it's these sticks are metal, which was we didn't realise. But basically, if you could improve the quality of the controller hubs, then I think people would, it would be an easier decision. That's not to say that the Fimi controller was 100%. I did feel like it was a little bit rough around the edges, but as I got to use it, I felt like, yeah, it's good quality actually, this does the job. It had, I'm sure the button was metal, like the slide button was metal, and this is plastic. But compared to the original Mini 1, which was very similar to that, and the build quality, so I'd say this is slightly below that of the Mini 1's build quality. But anyway, I think as long as it's functional and it does its job, I think we'll be happy. But yes, it's definitely not as premium, the controller. But yeah, but hopefully, hopefully that was useful to you. If it was, please click like. Please subscribe if you can, or if you want to see more videos like this, and more, watch some of our flight videos as well. But yeah, looking forward to taking it out. Thank you very much for watching. I hope it's been useful. Thanks very much.